Hey everyone, we're the Burtons. This is Charlotte. Can you wave, Charlotte? This is Brooklyn. Can you wave, Brooklyn? This is Ethan. This is my wife, Christy. And I'm Tim. We met at church. She was actually my sister's friend. And we were dated for about 5 years and then eventually got married. And we were married 10 years before we had our first child in our home.
Mm-hmm. It was about year 3 when we bought our first house, and that's kind of when we'd wanted to start a family. We were excited, and I'd always dreamed of being a mom.
Yeah, so
and then
we went down the road to start a family, and it wasn't working. After a couple of years, we started to think something's not right, and that was actually quite a hard period for us because that whole experience is usually a very quiet one.
And I don't even think we knew what we were in the middle of. My doctor just kept saying, "Oh, you're young, don't worry." And then I remembered the moment that it just really hit me. I was in an elevator waiting to go get blood work, and I looked down at the piece of paper in my hand, and it said the word infertility on it. And I, at that moment, made a huge mistake, and I actually took that word and I really labeled myself. I put it on my heart, and I labeled myself with that word. And that took me down a really hard path, I guess you could say, and a couple of really dark years for me and for us.
You can't go to school for this. No one trains you for this. This is not something that just kind of like, oh yeah, this is kind of be a bump in your road. This is how you handle it. It was done in silence. No one really talks about it. So you're just kind of two people on their own in a place where you kind of don't want to be.
One day, Tim actually had said, "What about adoption? Why don't we look at building our family a different way?" And honest to goodness, it never even hit me. I was so lost in this one dream that I had that I definitely had to grieve just that loss of pregnancy and those things that kind of come along with that first. I didn't want adoption to be my second choice. I didn't want my kids that I adopted to be second place. I wanted them to be first place. At the time, we'd kind of looked into different options for adoption, and Ethiopia kind of seemed like the shortest, to be honest. It's kind of one of the biggest factors, but also because that there was a really good program in Manitoba that worked with Ethiopia, as well as the Ethiopian community here in Winnipeg. And so it was supposed to be a 2-year process. And about 2 years in, they kind of said, you know what, like it's going to be at least double that. And so that was really heartbreaking at the time. But then in that same month that we kind of found out that information, the phone rang and it was a family member.
It was real.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yeah, we just felt like, I think actually this is viable. Like this is, he's meant to be in our family.
And so we moved forward with his process with Ethan, and that got finished, and he came home. And then a year later, we got a phone call while I was at work that there's a little girl waiting for us in Ethiopia. So within 2-year span, 2 kids came after a 10-year wait.
We had put in another adoption file actually for Ethiopia, and that came back to us. The country ended up closing, and so that was a huge loss. But after that time, we decided as a family that we would want to become a foster family. We hang out with a lot of other families who have adopted and who foster, and my kids kept saying, when am I going to be a foster brother? Where's my foster sister? So it was kind of a natural part of our family that they kind of knew what that was, and so we talked about what it meant that a foster child could leave our family at any time.
And we had a boy come into our house, and he was here for a year. He's a cute little a guy, and he ended up going back. And it does rip out your heart. It was a very emotional time. But again, God's like, all right, I'm going to journey with you. You can get through it. And so it's always a lesson that those whole family piece has been a lesson. I think not only this amazing journey to grow, but this idea that God's like, yeah, you know what, you might go down a different path, maybe a road that maybe not everybody goes down, and it's going to be difficult, but I'm with you, and you can handle that.
Yeah.
So.